Hey folks, good morning and welcome to a special Sunday morning episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Sunday, December 22nd, and although it is not a weekday, we are here because the Pittsburgh Steelers do not have many weekdays between now and their next game. A Wednesday afternoon home game on Christmas Day against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Steelers lost 34-17 to the Baltimore Ravens last night in Baltimore, but Mike Tomlin will talk on the South Side today as the Steelers condense their schedule to deal with the short week. Also, we'll have an open locker room with players after talking to Coach Tomlin a little bit later this afternoon. More on that later. Right now, I want to talk about that 34-17 double up loss to the Ravens, which looks on paper like it was a beatdown, but honestly was a lot closer game than last week's two-score loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, as the Steelers were in the game until late in the fourth quarter when Russell Wilson threw a pick six with the Steelers down 7 that really put the game out of their reach. But still, even they had the ball and were driving with 9 minutes left in the game when Mike Tomlin decided to punt away on a fourth down, and they never really threatened again after that. A lot of people want to know why the Steelers lost this game and who is to blame for a fairly embarrassing scoreline defeat to their biggest rival in the AFC North. And I've got bad news for you. There aren't a lot of places for this blame to go around. I saw some people talking yesterday about the defense. Certainly, when you give up 34 points, that's not a good performance by your defense, even if the offense allowed 7 of them. When Derrick Henry has 199 yards from scrimmage, that's not doing a good job of shutting down the other team's top weapon, certainly. And Patrick Queen gave a fairly emotional and passionate locker room session last night, detailing some of the problems with the defense, what he thought was going wrong, what has to happen to fix it. That is one video up here on the YouTube channel. I highly recommend you check that out. Good stuff from PQ last night. Said people need to look in the mirror, and it starts with him. You can't have 9 or 10 guys pulling in the same direction. It has to be all 11. And he felt like that was not the case against the Ravens on Saturday. But really, when you look at this game is won and lost because of turnovers and luck. The ball gets on the ground 3 times in this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't end up with it. 4 times in this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't end up with it, any of them. Now, 1 was late when the game was probably out of reach anyway. But the other 3 hugely impactful plays as the Steelers force 2 fumbles. Early in the game, we're not able to recover either of them. If you remember the game against Baltimore and Pittsburgh, huge swings of momentum on a fumble by Derrick Henry, stripped by Nick Herbig. Huge swing of momentum when Peyton Wilson intercepted Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers just did not get those types of plays consistently enough in this game, and they didn't get the ball back. And the Steelers turned it over. Russell Wilson with 2 just brutal turnovers, a fumble inside the 5-yard line going into the end zone, and then the interception returned for a touchdown. The Steelers lose the turnover battle in this game. They get just 1 takeaway, Minkah Fitzpatrick's interception. They give the ball away twice. Here are some recent Steelers stats when they lose the turnover battle. They are 2-2 this season when they lose the turnover battle, but they were 0-5 last year and 0-6 in 2022. Over the last 3 seasons, the Steelers are 2-13 in games where they don't win the turnover battle. And we've talked here on this podcast and on Afternoon Drive with me and Smitty a lot about the way the Steelers defense is designed. It is designed to get the football. It does not care about getting every blade of grass, about stopping every possible yard nearly as much as it cares about getting the football. And when you do that and you get the ball out and you don't get it, you're not going to win. So is 199 yards from Derrick Henry concerning? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is a big play by Zay Flowers over Beanie Bishop concerning? Absolutely. Is a wide open Mark Andrews touchdown where 2 guys covered Flowers and nobody covered Andrews concerning? Absolutely. And Patrick Queen has every right to be furious about the way the Steelers defense fulfilled its obligations, executed its assignments, and he's right about that. But at the end of the day, the reason the Steelers lost this game was they got the ball out and they didn't get it. They didn't give themselves more of those chances on defense, and they turned the ball over on offense. And I didn't think Russell Wilson had a great game. Statistically, it was fine. I didn't think he was finding all the receivers that he could. I thought there were guys open and plays to be made that he wasn't making. But all of that could have been forgiven if he had just done what he had done all season and taken care of the football. So I mean, if you want to find blame for this game, it's got to go to Russell Wilson, and he's the one. He said last night, "Hey, put it on me. That game's on me." And I think it was. I think you saw a guy really for the first time since he's come to Pittsburgh look like a player who was trying to do too much. Look like the player that we saw a little bit in Denver. That was a little bit harried, a little bit frazzled by the pressure. Not necessarily the cool cucumber we saw in Seattle. And that's concerning. It's a blip. It's not. It won't be more concerning until it's a trend. He hasn't had great statistical performances over the last few weeks, but he hasn't done that either. He hasn't given the game away, and he gave the game away on Saturday night. And the Steelers defense couldn't take it back. And the tackling, the man coverage issues. We have not seen those be consistent issues for the Steelers throughout the season. I think the obvious answer to it happening 2 weeks in a row is that Deshaun Elliott means a whole heck of a lot to that Steelers defense, and that getting him back, and I believe they will get him back this Wednesday against the Chiefs, will be a huge deal. But I had some people talking about Terrell Austin. The Steelers played a 4-3 defense in this game. I am 42 years old. I've never seen them play a 4-3 defense. Never once. Like I don't the Arthur Smith, I thought, did a really good job. Like the Steelers were running if Russell Wilson doesn't fumble at the 5 and the Steelers go in and score, with the Steelers averaging over 4.5 yards per carry against the Baltimore defense, and they take a lead and they can play with a lead, they probably win the game. The Steelers chased the entire game, and that is not a team that you want to chase. You take Derrick Henry out of the game if if they just go in and score there. Everything that happened in this game with Henry going off and with the Steelers forcing it and throwing a bad interception late probably gets reversed. We've seen Lamar do it a number of times. We've seen the Steelers take over a game with their running game. So I thought that was one of the best games that the Steelers rushing attack had, considering the opponent. 4.5 yards per carry is really, really good against the Baltimore defense. So yeah, this was not a blowout loss. This was a loss where the big plays went in Baltimore's favor. The Steelers obviously need to correct that. They need to find a way to not let that happen this Wednesday against the Chiefs. But they've also put themselves in a position, thanks to winning as many games as they did early in the season, where that kind of game is not sinking them. Last year, this kind of loss would have ended the season. 2 years ago, this kind of loss would have ended the season. 2021, this kind of loss would have ended the season. The Steelers have been in a position where they had to win every single game down the stretch, where they did not give themselves a margin of error. This team does have a margin of error, and I'm very interested to see what the postseason is going to look like after that margin of error, after the Steelers have gone through this gauntlet of 3 games in 10 days against quality opponents, playoff-bound teams. Even if they go 0-3, I think that'll make them a better team on the other side of it. We will see what they look like in the playoffs. I'm still very confident in this team going into the postseason. I think you should be as well. I don't see a group that is falling apart. I don't see a group where the sky is falling. I see injuries, which obviously with concern about Joey Porter Jr., we'll hear more from him, I expect, from Mike Tomlin later today. But outside of getting healthy, I don't think you should be too worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, they're not going to do that very often, and the turnovers, which have been their specialty, is what sank them. When that happens, it's very easy to just say, well, that hasn't been the way things have been going. Let's see if they can get back on track. That's all I've got for today. We'll be back with more from Mike Tomlin's press conference and the Steelers locker room this afternoon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys on a Sunday weekend. I know the holidays are coming and everybody's got a lot of stuff, so I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to what we have to say here on the Steelers Now YouTube channel when it comes to the black and gold. Till next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy.